Tear Down and Rebuild with Elodie. So, people, it's been a little while here. I was going to be posting every Sunday, but last Sunday I was trying to get some things together for you. So now I'm back. Since this is my first full podcast rather. I wanted to make sure that everything stayed normal, stayed authentic, stayed like just a conversation, not like some sort of strange radio type, reading off of a card type situation, but just like a real sit back conversation. So that's how all of my podcasts are going to be. So you may hear some things that's like, well, why didn't you edit that out? Or, she stammered there, because I just wanted to be something authentic so that people can really connect to what I'm trying to do here. I'm really trying to get this movement of self-help, but also seeking help to people who don't realize that, that help is out there, or there's a weird stigmatism about seeking out help whenever you have issues, or as adults we think that it makes us seem weak, or just as needy, or in some cases there are people who say, well, they don't go and seek out help because it makes them look crazy. The truth of the matter is that you can't be a good person to anybody else in this world if you can't be good to you first. So that is what this platform is going to be all about. It's about making sure that you are good to you, so that when you step out into the world, whether it be your job or your business or your family, your children, you are stepping out as the best version of you possible. And the only way I know to help people do that is to share what I've been through with everybody else. So the way this platform works is I'm going to speak into issues from the past, moving into the present, and what we can do for the future. So speaking from the past, today I want to talk about learning how to be alone. Not lonely, but just learning how to be alone. I think a lot of us are so caught up in having to be with someone, around someone, that we've forgotten how to be with ourselves and by ourselves. And it's okay to be by yourself. It's okay to just do you. Actually, I personally think that it's better that you take care of self and be by yourself and learn yourself first before you shove it down somebody else's throat. Because you never want to start figuring things out about yourself while you're in a situation with someone else, because that just causes all kinds of issues and all kinds of problems. And again, when I say by yourself or alone, you can be alone and not be lonely. I think people get the two confused. Typically, if you're alone and you're lonely, it's because you're looking for yourself elsewhere. And that's not to say that there aren't times when you can actually be lonely and you know yourself as a person, and you have those moments where we're human. Everybody wants to be with another person. But when it becomes something that's like driving you, like I can't be by myself, because every moment that you're by yourself is a lonely moment, there's something there that needs to be worked on. I'm a firm believer in having downtime. It's something that I never did. Like I was always, and it wasn't, because of relationships or anything, but because of how I was brought up. I was brought up in a situation where there was no time for downtime, because my mother had some issues, and I spent a good portion of my younger years making sure she was okay and taking care of home. And I got thrusted into adulthood at an age where it was all I ever knew. So when I got older, there was still no downtime for me. There was school, there was work, and then I got married right out of college, and then there was marriage, and then there was kids, and then there was divorce, and there was raising children of my own, and then there was more work and more work, and there was never the downtime moment where it was like, okay, stop, sit back, and figure out who you are. So I had my downtime moment after my children were grown and I was much older. And it wasn't because I was a parent. You can have your time and still be a parent and still parent. It was because I never even thought, and it was never even brought to my attention, it was something that was needed. I kind of figured that out along the way, which is why I wanted to do something like this, because you shouldn't have to figure out as you go that you need that space and that time to figure out what you want, who you are, what do you bring to the table, what do you want somebody else to bring to your table. Like, it should not happen while you're dealing with other people, especially if you're trying to find yourself and you're dealing with somebody who's trying to find themselves. And trust me, I've done that before. I've been in a situation, like I said, I got married right out of college, where I didn't exactly know what it was that I wanted. And although he thought he knew what he wanted, I don't believe he knew either. So now you become two people who are young. I'm talking, 22, 23 years old, somewhere up in there. You're talking about two people who are young, fresh out of college, fresh into the world, going into new jobs, and you've got degrees, and you think at this point you know everything and you can do it all. And then you try to take on all of it. So then we took on marriage, and we took on being a family. We took on having children, and you take on everything, and you never stopped to say, wait a minute, is this something that we really need right now? Is this something that we really want right now? Is this something we can actually do right now without screwing it up? And say you have jumped into it the way we jumped into it. There comes a point where you then have to go back and say, well, I need to hit the reset button on this situation. And that doesn't mean that if you're in a marriage or in a relationship, you have to walk out of it. Unless, of course, it's not doing anything for you. If your relationship has gotten to the point, especially if there's somebody listening who is in a situation that is abusive, that is harmful, by all means, you have to find that strength that you have inside of you to get out of that situation. But I'm talking about right now to people who are just lost in their relationships. Doesn't mean that your relationship is bad. It just means that you need to figure out a little bit better who you are. Then you take the time to sit down and let the other person know, listen, I need to do a little reset here. I need to start figuring some things out, and figure out a way to carve out that time for you to figure out who you are as individuals. And it could be something as simple as, okay, if you're in a position where you can do this, because I know everybody isn't, say he works and he has the ability to work and take care of everything in the home, or she works and she has the ability to take care of everything in the home. So the other person decides, okay, for this amount of time, say 6 months, I'm not going to work. I'm just going to figure out what it is. And it usually doesn't take that long. Most of the time, we already know in our hearts what it is that we really want, whether it's career-wise or what we want for our personal stuff, or our look, our health, even so far as going down to your diet. Like, most of the time, you know what it is that you want, but you feel like you can't go after it. You don't have the ability to. Maybe you don't have the money to, or you're afraid that your significant other is not going to be on board with it. But you'll never know until you say something. My mama used to always tell me, a closed mouth never gets fed. So you have to speak up, because it's important. It's important for you. It's important for your family. But more than your family, more than your spouse, more than your kids, it is extra important for yourself. Because if you aren't happy with where you are in life, if you aren't in a place where you can say, you know what, this is exactly what I want to be doing, and although I could be doing more, and I will, I'm on the road I want to be on. If you're not there, then you're not giving your best to anybody else. And trust me when I tell you, they know it. They can feel it. You may not think they feel it. A lot of us are classically known for oh, nobody else knows and nobody will figure it out. And I'm great at, putting on a brave face for the world. And trust me, the people who actually care about you, they know that something is off. They can feel it. They can see it. They can sense it. And they may not say anything to you. Sometimes it's because they don't know how to approach it, but they know. And the reason I'm so passionate about this in particular is because sometimes you have to be able to have that space to yourself to have a thought and be able to process that thought. And if it's something that you really want to go after, to be able to follow that path. Like, how many people are sitting here listening to the sound of my voice right now and don't even know what the sound of their own voice sounds like? And that's probably going to sound crazy. It's like I talk all the time. I know exactly what I sound like. No, I mean truly knowing what the sound of your own voice sounds like. There are a lot of us who are wives and we got jobs and we're moms and you got football practices and you've got soccer games and you've got PTA meetings and you got to be at work and whatever your job is, you have to do that. And then you get home and the husband needs attention or the wife needs attention. And somewhere in all of that, your own voice gets lost. And trust me when I tell you, for people who are single, it is a lot easier to hear your own voice and to stand on a strong foundation of who you are as a person when you're doing it by yourself, because then you're stronger in your relationship. And if the both of you have done this, you are stronger together. You are now that power couple who can move forward. And when life throws things at you, because that will happen, you don't bend as easily, because we are, marriage-wise, falling apart all over the place. Separations like crazy. But I think it's because we really didn't know who we were when we stepped into that. And a lot of that has to do with how we were raised. There are certain things that we were always taught. You got to be strong and you gotta get out here and you gotta work and you gotta do, you gotta go, you gotta do. And a lot of us are taught that you gotta have a marriage and you gotta have the kids and you gotta have this life. And I know I was raised the same way. And I was raised by a woman who was raised by a woman who was always a firm believer in always have your own, always take care of it yourself. You don't need nobody for nothing. She wanted all of her grandkids to know how to cook, how to clean, how to make their own money, how to take care of them. And we were raised in the total opposite of I need a person to be with me. We were raised that we don't need anybody at all. Nobody. And that's just as bad because nobody was meant to be out here by themselves. But I do believe that there is a time in your life where you have to walk by yourself. When you are one of those people who goes from living at your mama's house to being in college and possibly having roommates, to being married and being at somebody else's house, and there was never a point where the house was your house and you were the only one responsible for the bills and you were the only one who was responsible for how are we going to eat today. And like, when you haven't had that opportunity to do it on your own, there's something missing there. And the only way I can put it is you haven't heard the sound of your own voice yet. You don't know what that sounds like without your mom's voice or your dad's voice filtering in, without your husband's voice or your wife's voice filtering in, without your friends' voices filtering in, without your children's voices filtering in. You have to know what it's like to hear your own voice. And like I said, just because some of us are in situations now where we have significant others or we have families, it doesn't mean that you can't still do it. You just have to get a little more creative on figuring out how to do it. But I would strongly suggest that you take that time and you talk to those people and let them know, you know what, I need a little space because I need to figure out some things for myself so you can be the best version of you. So as we go forward with these shows, that's going to be one of the things that I'm going to be talking about is how to reach into your past and pull out those things that you were taught and pull out those things that you dealt with and the things that hurt you or the things that made you happy and like really start to dig into figuring out